Assalamu alaikum. Hi, Oracle Reiki Spiritual Healer. And as we move forward to divorcing this system, I'm liking some of the things that I see. It gave me a flashback. But, let's first talk about us divorcing this entity, divorcing the system. I see a lot of the sisters saying that, if the hair care weaves and wigs and things of that nature isn't by black people, they're not going to buy these products starting September the 1st. Black out the system. So, I really appreciate that we're taking this financial, step to taking our power back, because as we know that this entity loves money. It loves to put you in a position of, you will go in lack or you won't have anything. Now, again, we have to make sure that when we're moving towards the right direction, that we give, praise for that. It doesn't matter, at what time that we decide that, we're going to go back to all natural, or we're not going to use these products at all. But this is a step in the right direction. And, and I really appreciate the black women for doing that. And, I wanted to, publicly thank you and, boost you to keep doing this in the right direction. So, I'm going to give you my story. I'm going to give you my flashback about divorce with, one of my husbands. And, on this particular occasion, divorce is allowed in certain situations where you have your husband, or you have anyone that wants to play in your face, financially. And in this particular story, we had lost our home because my husband did not want to help me. He wanted me to do everything, and and that means pay all the bills for him, and he wanted me to struggle with him so that I could prove that I love him, or I would let him do whatever he wanted to do. And we all know that that's not the case with me. So at the end of the day, I ended up stop paying everything. I let everything got turned off. Yeah. And I ended up, moving back home with my mother. After my mother had passed, I ended up moving back with her and my sister at the time. And I don't even know, how to even say this, but it was a mistake for me to let my husband come into my mother's house. I absolutely saw who he was from that point, that since I wasn't going to allow him to play in my face. And this is what we have to see with these people. These people is identical to this story. These people, these corporations, they're identical to this story. If you do not let someone play in your face, then they start to try to make an example of you. They start to try to humiliate you in the community. So, my husband, he had a key to, my mother's house after her passing. And so he comes up to the door and he's knocking on the door like, let me in. So I just sat there. I was like, you can come in, where's your key? And he was like, oh, I forgot it. And I'm going to go right back out and get it. So I watched him go down the street, make a U-turn into the apartments, walk up the back way to the girl that he was seeing, and, go in there, get the key, and then, go back the same way and then come back. So at this point, as we can see that, the relationship was over. And I decided to, go ahead and cleanse myself of the negative energy of the whole situation. Because we do not allow people to play in our face when we know what we saw, when we know what it is, when we know that they're money hungry, when we know that they will sacrifice you, your health, your body, to have their way. So, they can save face so that you can look like, you're crashing out over them, or you're crashing out over some materialism or whatever. So I had to stop, the girl that he was seeing from playing in my face as well. Because, there's no telling what he had been telling her. But every time I turn around, she was sending her kids to ask for an egg, some sugar. And I had to let them know that, I buy food from my house. I suggest that your mother do the same. So these are the type of things that you will deal with those narcissists. They will, scandalize your name. They will, try to stalk you and have other people try to stalk you because of things that they've told them. It is no different than what's going on here in society, that when you start to divorce this narcissist, when you start to pull your power back from this narcissist, they will, try to penalize you for taking your power back, for not letting them play in your face, for not letting them continue to overcharge you in society. They will try to penalize you because you no longer want them. You got other choices that you can make instead of, buying hair from these people, instead of trying to make sure that you are in alignment with this entity and doing what it wants you to do. Purchasing hair from their people when you can buy it from your own people and keep that money in your pocket. So, ultimately, that's what I had to do. I had to let everything that this narcissist husband had bought me, the house and everything, go. And I had to let them know, I'm nothing to play with in the neighborhood. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to take all the money that I have and I'm going to the Bahamas. And when I come back, you need to be gone out of my house. I don't care where you go. I'll send you divorce papers wherever. I'm divorcing you right now. So this is what we have to do. We have to let them know, taking our power back, take our money back. We're not playing with you. I don't want any part of your product. I don't want anything else to do with you. If you can't treat me right, then, I have to ultimately go with someone who will treat me right. I have to go with my own people, because I've seen what you'll do when given the money and the power. Just like they're taking the power and their money back from our neighborhoods, and we've never had it. They've never given us their support. Then ultimately, that's what we have to do. We have to treat this entity just in the same way that they treat us, financially, spiritually, and otherwise. And that's called divorcing the system, divorcing the entity. I encourage it on all levels. Take your money back from, this high rent. Again, take your money back, when things are not going your way. Take your power and your money out of this entity and invest in yourselves, invest in your own businesses, because if you do not do that, invest in your own selves, then you're ultimately spending money in the entity, with the entity, and they're giving it to their people, and you can see what they're funding. They're funding policing your system. They're funding, oppression. They're funding, a tyrannical government leadership. So we want to make sure that we're sending a strong message when we black out the system, on all levels, that we are intending on divorcing you, permanently, that this will be a permanent move. across the board, that we're not going to spend our money with you. At any point or any level, we're not coming back to spend our money with those that we blacked out. It did not matter to these people when they were, DEI taking our funds out of their system, our products out of their system. And we should not, have any remorse when we take our money and pull our power back. So I hope that you received this message. I really appreciate all of your support. Please like, share, and subscribe over all of my platforms. You can reach out to me in the description below. Book a session, book a one-on-one consultation, or book a life coaching session. I'm High Oracle, Reiki spiritual healer. Assalamu alaikum.